Hello, botany students. I'm Dr. Kate Hertweck, an assistant professor at the University of Texas at Tyler in the Department of Biology. I'm excited to share with you today some thoughts that I initially presented to a student career in botany luncheon at the annual botany meeting in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I've drawn some inspiration here for this talk from Plants vs. Zombies. And you can see a number of plants here who have all found their career calling, ranging from construction worker to firefighter to park ranger. My hope is that today, although I can't tell you how to get a job or even give you a job, that I can lead you on the way to finding your own career path. And if these plants can do it, surely you can find a job involving plants. It might be useful to think a little bit about where I came from as a professional botanist. I grew up in southern Indiana, and my mom was a teacher. In high school, I had a teacher take me aside and ask whether I would be interested in teaching. My response was lackluster at best. I was not very enthusiastic about the idea. I think my specific words were, "I do not have the patience for teaching." Of course, my high school teacher at the time laughed and said that he certainly didn't have the patience for it either. I put that in the back of my mind and continued on to college. I was at Western Kentucky University and was originally listed as something like organizational communications for my major. I didn't really know what that means, and I don't really know what that means now. Regardless, I was still very interested in science and considered taking biology classes and minoring in the subject. Eventually, I was drawn aside and asked if I wanted to perform some of my own research. I thought that was pretty exciting, but specifically did not want to consider career research because I couldn't imagine spending years working on a specific subject. So when prefaced with the question, would you like to do research, I was like, sure, but not as a career. Again, not enthusiastic about that idea. Fast forward a couple of more years, and I started to get more into plant biology as a field of study. I was really interested in being able to hang around outside looking at plants. At that point in time, genomics was an up-and-coming field of research. And so when confronted with the question, would you like to study genomics, I thought again, well, it seems kind of cool, but again, unenthusiastic, not exactly what I'd like to spend my time doing. My career path eventually led me to a point of being a teacher and researcher for comparative genomics. The moral of this story is obviously that you might not know what you like until you try it. In my case, I really enjoy having a job that lets me fuse together multiple different interests. And so now it's time to think a little bit about what you might be able to do for your own career. This is a young, enthusiastic plant ready to confront the world. I'm going to describe some potential jobs that you might consider, and they come in a few different categories. First, you might think about pursuing a job in industry. These jobs come in lots of different flavors, everything from working with plant breeding and crop improvement, to science writing, to environmental monitoring for private organizations. An additional category might be continuing in academia. Now, you're already familiar with this particular field as a student, and you interact most likely with both technicians and professors and instructors. Another potential opportunity would be working for a nonprofit. And these seem like a very obvious continuation of botanical studies, when you can work for a botanical garden or sometimes with a museum. Additionally, there are a number of international service organizations that might be interested in using your botanical skills. The next category overlaps with some of the previous, and it includes pursuing education or outreach for groups like nature centers or at the high school or middle school or elementary school level. Finally, you might consider governmental work, in which you pursue botanical research associated with the Department of Conservation, or look at the legal side of policy issues related to plant management. I should note that I have peers who have pursued jobs in all of these fields, so these positions are not only attainable, but possible for you. If all else fails, you might consider taking a cue from Andy Weir's book, The Martian, in which a botanist gets crash-landed on Mars and has to continue botany on his own. Now we can think a little bit about what you might be able to do to help yourself pursue some of these positions. Here are a few questions you can ask yourself when trying to choose a path. How do you like to spend your time? More importantly, why is it that you like to spend your time in a particular way? Is it the ability to interact with people? Or is it the actual things that you get to work with? Do you like to work on a computer all day? Do you like to work with plants? Once you have an idea of what you might like, then you can start to ask how other people in jobs you might want actually spend their time. You can start to explore whether or not your potential interests match those of a potential job. You can also start to wonder, as I already have, where your peers start to go after they graduate. Your friends can be a very important source of knowledge in figuring out how your education can match potential career interests. Finally, you can start to figure out what it is you need to do to prepare yourself for specific jobs in terms of actual marketable skills. I have a few ideas of places you can go to learn more about developing these skills. The Botanical Society of America has a large number of resources associated with helping students find potential careers or find career counseling. Moreover, AAAS has a fantastic resource called Orienteering for Industry. And although this is specific for industry, it includes a lot of other types of resources that might help you think about developing skills, such as informal interviews or talking to people who have a job you might want so you can learn more about it. Links for both of these resources can be found on the PDF of my presentation, listed in the link at the very beginning of my talk. Moreover, you can start to talk to more people on a one-on-one basis. People are your best resource for finding what you need. I've recommended here looking for blogs for people in your career of interest, following people on Twitter who might be interested in the same types of things, and looking at LinkedIn to find out exactly what job requirements are for a particular career. Finally, I'd like to remind you that you should be your own advocate. It's entirely up to you to decide what you do for a job, and so you should continue to explore options on your own. Don't wait for opportunities to come by. However, you should be able to take advantage of opportunities, both in the short term and long term. That means considering participating in a weekend outreach project with young children if you think you might be interested in that in the long term. It might also mean pursuing a semester-long internship or work over the summer that would expose you to a little bit more of the day-to-day nuances of a particular job. Finally, it's not too soon to start thinking about this, because some of these job skills may take days, weeks, or months to be able to attain. I'd like to thank my inspiration again of Plants vs. Zombies, as well as UT Tyler for helping me share this information with you today. You can find more information about me on my blog, on Twitter, or Google+. Happy career hunting.